Let me start with regulation of broadband, where perhaps Senator Cruz was ending. As Senator Budd mentioned, Chair Rosenworcel announced recently that she would be asking the Commission to vote on a notice of inquiry examining the practices of broadband providers imposing so-called data caps on consumer broadband plans. Commissioner Carr, do you think this is an issue that warrants FCC time and resources? Also, wouldn't prohibiting or regulating usage-based pricing amount to a form of rate regulation?
I think it would effectively amount to rate regulation. At the end of the day, let's say, for instance, you have a $30 data cap plan that's affordable for somebody, or a $60 or $70 unlimited plan. For the FCC to come in and outlaw that $30 offering certainly seems to me a lot like rate regulation.
Ms. Gomez, as we know, broadband services are currently classified as an information service not subject to Title II regulation under the Communications Act. Given this fact, if the FCC determines that it wants to regulate broadband usage-based pricing, under which statutory provision could the FCC impose such regulations?
Thank you, Senator, for that question. Just to make sure I understand your question, if the FCC were to regulate usage-based pricing, under what provision would they regulate that?
Yes, assuming that you agree with me that the law currently doesn't allow that under, it's not subject to Title II regulations.
Okay, sorry. Thank you. Appreciate that clarification. I think that broadband internet access service is too important, too central to our lives and to our economy not to have effective oversight. And so I would be supportive of reclassification to Title II. However, I go back to my original point that I don't support rate regulation because I think that competition is the most effective regulator.
And I was going to ask you, so what's the distinction between what the answer I heard you tell Senator Cruz or told him in his office and you confirmed today and what you just said to me?
I think it's the same.
And your earlier part about reclassification under Title II, tell me what you meant by that.
I think that Title II gives the strongest oversight to the FCC over the service. I just don't agree with regulating pricing.
And I assume, let me take that back. I would like for you to confirm that even though you have views about what the FCC should do or what's good for the economy, you do need statutory authority, a grant from Congress, in order to accomplish that. Is that true?
Thank you, Senator. I believe fidelity to the statute is always important. I also would strongly support for Congress to legislate in this arena. It would be, as Senator Thune mentioned earlier, the best course of action. But I would pledge fidelity to the act in any action that, if fortunate enough to be confirmed, I would have before me. I
appreciate what Senator Thune said and that you agree with it, and it would be the right course of action if Congress, and particularly this committee, could find that common ground sweet spot in which we could proceed. Unfortunately, in my view, the FCC took action that made that less likely that we would be forced to make those compromises and the ability to work together. Let me turn to a spectrum auction. Section 108, the 2.5 gigahertz spectrum auction ended 10 months ago, but licenses that were sold remain with the FCC despite payment for those licenses already being made. Ostensibly, the FCC is holding these licenses because of the lapse in spectrum auction authority. I understand that this spectrum may be used to connect thousands of Kansans, particularly in rural areas, but without the licenses being provided, the connection cannot occur. Commissioner Carr, other than spectrum auction authority, are there any other tools the FCC can use to provide for the use of these licenses?
Yes, Senator. First of all, I think we can use our existing 309A authority to issue those licenses, but short of that, the FCC has an authority called STA, Special Temporary Authority, that would allow us to authorize the use of that. And to your point, bring Americans across the digital divide, and we could do it effectively with the flip of a switch.
And is there effort to do so?
I don't see any movement at the FCC towards that end.
Okay. My final question, Mr. Chairman. Commissioner Carr, you've been outspoken in your belief that TikTok is a national security threat and a data privacy risk to Americans. I agree with you, but I believe the problem of adversarial countries being able to siphon American data is greater than just one app. Can you talk about the pervasive challenge we are facing in terms of securing U.S. data from adversarial nations and offer any suggestions you might have for Congress to address the issue?
Thank you, Senator, for the question, your leadership on this. The way I think about it from an FCC perspective is we took action at the device layer. We've taken action on Huawei ZTE. We've taken action at the carrier level, looking at China Mobile, China Telecom, the common denominator being entities that are beholden to the CCP and data flows back to China. I think it's important as a country that we also take action at the application layer, whether that's in the main, the FTC, or Treasury through the CFIUS department. I think that's where that action should take place as opposed to the FCC per se. But we need to look at TikTok, and we need to do a comprehensive look at all applications with sufficient ties back to adversarial regimes.
Data privacy has been another one of those issues that it would be great if Congress could find that sweet spot in which there's some willingness to work together to find a solution, and I'm going to continue to try. Mr. Chairman, thank you.
Thank you.